let's move on now to the Houston Texans and our first round 2023 NFL draft series and what we think they will do with, I guess there's a unique situation as they have 2 picks in the top 12. So, but before we do that, Ryan and I, we have a special announcement. We will be coming at you live on April 27th. So you can see our live reaction as the picks come in. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified when we do go live and also when we create new content. Also, be sure to leave a comment on this video, Texans fans, on what you think the Texans should do with not only the 2nd pick, but also the 12th pick. Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I will say, let's just start. Let's quash this now. I don't think the Texans are going anywhere other than quarterback with their 2nd pick.
Oh, yeah.
I think people who are saying that, I think it has been especially after all the time that we put in, I've realized how long 3 months of creating content can be. So yeah. I think people are just coming up with content to go put out there. As great as Will Anderson is, as great as Tyree Wilson is, I do not like that move the more and more I think about it. I know I even said, I'm sure you can go find a Texans video several months ago where like, hey, this actually might not be a bad idea if they did that. Well, after really thinking about it and having all this time to think about it, you have to go with the 2nd quarterback here.
Yeah.
Whoever the Panthers don't take, that's what I think they take with either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think that they would like both of them. I think that they can come in and fit the system. But also, there's no guarantee that a guy will be there at 12. Or if you want to go get your guy, you're going to have to give up draft picks. Yeah. And for a rebuilding team, that just doesn't make sense.
No, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think you have 2 high floor potential superstar quarterbacks, high floor, high ceiling quarterbacks that are going to be coming into the draft class, and you're sitting there at 2 with a major need at quarterback. And I think it would be extremely silly to pass up on one of those guys. I know there was that press conference with, was it D'Amico Ryans, who came out and said that they're evaluating all options and that like they're not sure which direction they're going yet. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's like
I think that is all part of the game, and maybe if someone in the top 10 gives them an offer that they can't refuse, they'll move back and then they could still go get a quarterback if they want, as they are rebuilding, then they want to get more draft picks even. And so I'm pretty sure I was getting this confused with the Browns trade and then the Seahawks Broncos trade, but I'm pretty sure they still have a 1st round pick next year also.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe they got 3 from Cleveland. So they got the one last year and then this year, next year. So
okay, I'm fairly confident about that as well. I know I was mixing them up in the Russell Wilson trade as well. And the Seahawks only got 2, so this is their final season of the Broncos' 1st round picks. But anyways, I digress. So that's the 2nd overall pick. The pick that makes me really curious is their 12th pick.
Yeah,
and they can go in so many different directions. I will say this out of the gate right now. I know I did this in my mock draft because I did it, and what I think the team will do. I would not be surprised if Quentin Johnston comes off here. Sorry, I don't know why. Quentin Johnston comes off here at number 12. They are very depleted at receiver, and there is a difference, I think, in receiver and also the type of receiver they might be looking for from at Quentin Johnston here at 12 or at 33 when they have their next pick. Yeah. I am not saying I agree with that, but I do not be surprised if they do that just because they need receiver talent. Nico Collins right now is their number 1 receiver.
Yeah, and they do have John Mechie. He is coming back from leukemia. Yes. So I hope, one, he has a speedy recovery and is able to get back on the field this year. But I think Quentin Johnston adds a really good diverse skill set, whereas I think John Mechie and Jordan Addison are – and then you can kind of throw Jackson Smith and Jigba there. There's a little bit of overlap. And with the Texans just trading Brandon Cooks – I do really like the fit of Quentin Johnston on the outside there. He does need some coaching up. However, bringing in what is their new offensive coordinator's name? It is escaping me at the moment.
I'm not entirely sure. So
I'll push it is the old 49ers. Tim Kelly.
Oh, okay.
No, Bobby Slovic. Bobby Slovic. Oh,
okay.
That's who it is.
So I'll push back a little bit. I don't mind them going Quentin Johnston. However,
Jason.
No, Quentin Johnston, or if they went JS. But I would honestly prefer them if the right offensive lineman was there, if Peter Skoronski was there, who can kick in the guard. if he's still available at 12, I would honestly prefer that pick, shore up that offensive line.
Yeah.
Or if they wanted to go edge rusher, I know you're really high on Nolan Smith. I think that he can bring a very interesting dynamic to this team. It's potential, like they're going to have availability to a lot of good corners as well. And it's like when I was doing this in my draft, it's like I don't like this. However, this is what the team needs really are, and these are the best receivers in the class. Mm-hmm. So it's like I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route, but I would personally prefer for the Texans to maybe get. I think that there's better talent on paper if they went a different route. Devin Witherspoon is still available. I think address the cornerback position again. Him and Derek Stingley Jr., Desmond King as well, I think would be a pretty lethal secondary combination. And, but when I just look at it and I look at the receiver talent, they just drafted a franchise quarterback. You're going to want to get him a new roommate, and you want them to become best buds. Mm-hmm. And that's where it just receiver to me, where the team would make sense that they would want to do that.
Yeah. And my thing is, so they have Laramie Tunsil, and then they signed they drafted Kenyon Green last year. So I think they have a good base for that offensive line. I know Kenyon Green didn't play that well. He did not
do well.
However,
I think according to PFF, I think he was the worst offensive guard. That qualified.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that bringing in this San Francisco coaching staff, pretty much anyway, can kind of boost the play of that, and then they can address guard and right tackle, and possibly center later on in the draft. Even at 33, I think is more likely.
Well, and they could if there was going to be a time to trade up. I actually like them if Darnell Wright falls, or if DeJuan Jones falls, or maybe if even Broderick Jones falls. That then they go from 33 up to 27 with the Bills, or 28 with the Bengals, or not 26 with the Cowboys. I think they would stay. If anything, the Cowboys would trade up. Yeah. Anyways, it would be sacrificing much less draft picks, I think, to move up a couple of spots and to go into that instead of trying to go get a receiver. And that area is going to be very competitive in receiver in that early 20s to mid 20s. I think there's a lot of potential receivers that can go in that position as well. Yeah. So it's interesting. The Texans' second pick to me is very interesting because I think that can be a huge domino effect on what teams do. Also, and just lastly, do you think they could trade back?
That's exactly what I was just about to bring up. I think if they do want to go wide receiver at that second pick, I could see them trading back with a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers who would want to move up and draft one of the offensive tackles. I think Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski, and Paris Johnson Jr. are going to go somewhere between 4 and 12. And I think the Steelers are going to want to dip their toes in that tackle market. And so I think that's definitely a spot where they could trade back. And then at 17, I'm much more comfortable taking a risk on a Quentin Johnston, especially if I get a late second or another third round pick to go along with it, where I can throw more darts at the dartboard there. So that to me, I think if they want to go receiver at 12 is probably the strategy, because this receiver group is very odd. And
I agree.
There's really good depth, but there's not a lot at the top end. And so I think if you can get in the front of the second half of the first round, you'll have your pick of the litter. You can get the guy that you want. And then you'll also be able to add, like I said, another pick in the late second, early third. So
I completely agree. And it's like if you're looking at 33, who are going to be the guys that could be available? It's going to be Josh Downs. It's going to be, I guess of this first wave of receivers, maybe I'm blanking on some. So would Josh Downs be like after the top four of what we have talked about, with including Zay Flowers, JSN, Jordan Addison, and Quentin Johnston? Josh Downs, I don't know why I'm blanking. Is the next wave of receivers not until like Rasheed Rice, Xavier Hutchinson in the third, fourth round?
So you have, I think Cedric Tillman is going to go higher than what people think. You have Jalen Hyatt, who is in that second tier for me. Tank Dell, Josh Downs.
It's almost like to me when I hear those names, it's almost like Josh Downs is like it's like those top four. Yeah. And then you have Josh Downs, and then you have Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, Tank Dell. which are going to be, I think, 50s to 60s.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be too much of a reach if the Texans took him there at 33.
Yeah. And so to me, I think they're in an interesting spot. That's why I think if they want to go receiver, they'll either trade up from 33 or they'll trade back from 12 and try to meet somewhere in that 17 to 24 range to get the receiver that they want. So there are a lot of reports about teams only having one first round grade on a wide receiver. And the one thing that I will say to that is most teams don't go into an NFL draft with 32 first round grades, right? They usually go in with like 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And so if all 10 to 12 of those guys are off the board and you're picking at 25, you still have to take somebody or trade back if you have a trade partner. So I think that's an interesting way to look at it. Receivers have fallen in the past. Justin Jefferson went at 22. I don't think CeeDee Lamb went until 18. And those two guys are better receiver prospects than just about anybody in this class.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see. I'm excited to see what the Texans do at 2 and 12. And frankly, we threw in 33 a lot in this conversation. So I'm excited to see what they do with all three of those picks. So yeah, but let's go ahead. Let's wrap up the Houston Texans there. Leave a comment down below on what you want to see them do at 2, 12, and 33. And before you leave, go ahead and like and subscribe and smash that bell so you get notified when Tyler and I create new content. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.